Okay, we'll see you later. Thanks. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum joins me now. Mr. Secretary, coal's making a comeback. We saw it. But the climate crowd hates it. Can they hold up coal's comeback?
Well, certainly there's a reason why it's coming back, because America needs affordable, reliable, secure sources of energy. And you saw in the northeast part of the country a couple weeks ago when we had this cold spell that extended over a week, 25% of the power in New England was coming from coal. 2% came from wind and solar during that storm. This is just irreplaceable right now. And I'll tell you, if there's a coal plant running in America with beautiful, clean coal, these are the cleanest plants in the country, because they've been under assault from previous administrations, the Obama and the Biden administration. If they're operating today, I mean, they're basically heroes. These are the coal miners and the coal companies that are keeping the lights on in this country, keeping people warm, keeping people from freezing to death. They're getting it done, and they have put in unbelievable efforts to clean up their things. We've got the cleanest coal plants in the world right now.
But we were always told that coal is the dirtiest fuel, that there's more CO2 emissions from coal than there is from nat gas. Is that not true? No longer true?
Well, it's true, but it has more than nat gas. But then the question goes back to last week with the reversal on the endangerment finding, which is is CO2 a pollutant or is CO2 something that helps plants grow? We know it does the latter for sure, because plants absorb CO2 and exude oxygen as part of the processes they use to grow. If you have a CO2 enhanced greenhouse, you can grow plants 20, 30, 40% faster. So it is if we're trying to feed the world, we're trying to do all this. I mean, if you start with a belief that 1 degree of climate change is the existential threat, as opposed to we need power to drive things like AI, that innovation, not regulation, is going to solve concerns that people have about the future. Then you know that human flourishing on the planet is dependent on more energy. Any place we've got more energy, people live longer, have greater health outcomes, better education. We're about energy abundance in America, as opposed to regulating 25% of our electricity out of existence.
Mr. Secretary, Washington, D.C. has declared an emergency over the Potomac River sewage spill. Is the Interior Department, your department, is it involved in the cleanup? And if not, who is involved in the cleanup?
Well, as the President Trump has said, the federal government stands ready to help. When you've got something like this, it would fall under FEMA. It's a DC water pipeline. It runs through the state of Maryland. This huge release of raw sewage going into the Potomac. When it goes into the Potomac next to Maryland, Maryland has the responsibility for the waters of that river when it's adjacent to Maryland. It is their responsibility. We've said, hey, we're ready to help do this. Some of it is spilling on federal land right now, but of course, who would come to the rescue? It would be FEMA. But the Democrats, of course, are holding up the funding, and DHS includes FEMA. So if Democrats are feeling like the federal government should be doing something, they should come vote pass the DHS budget bill and let FEMA go to work to stop this image that you're showing of this massive release of raw sewage into the Potomac.
Do you think that the Democrats are prepared to shut down the government just to reform ICE, and at the same time stop emergency management money going towards disaster areas? Because that's a political price that they surely should not be paying.
Well, again, there's a lot of things about government shutdowns that whether it was the one last fall or the one right now, that make no sense to me, because every day government's got essential work that it needs to be doing. And if they want to change the laws, if they want to have a debate about something, then introduce a bill and pass a bill. But the idea that you're just going to keep holding American people and the protection of our environment hostage because it's such a blunt instrument, I don't understand how it's become the political tool of choice for Democrats, because it certainly hurts. When you're shutting down government last fall, we were racing around the country to keep national parks open because if the national parks aren't open during the fall leaf season, you know, you would have got thousands of small businesses in those interest communities that might have gone out of business. And so we're racing to figure out a way to keep things going when the Democrats are shutting it down for, you know, and we love the parks, but then they shut off the funding for the parks. You know, that was just a few months ago. So we've got to get to a point where Congress needs to focus on what their job is, which is, if you don't like the law, then introduce a bill, debate it, and try to pass that law.
Mr. Secretary, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Come back and see us again soon. Thanks very much, sir.
Thank you.